And hello, good day. Welcome back to the Astrology Livestream. My name is Nick Dagan Best. His name is Patrick Watson, and his name is John Streaker. And
Hey,
today we're here to talk about Nechepso, which we first talked about. We first discussed, what was it, 9 days ago? A little over a week
10
ago.
days ago.
Something like that. Okay, 10 days ago. I'll buy it.
yeah,
Yeah, we
seven.
we uh, we introduced our new software, which we're planning on launching this year, and talked about it. And we have this survey that we asked you to all to take, and a lot of you did. And so today's episode is a follow up. We've been looking at the survey, looking at all the feedback we've been getting, and yeah, we want to get into what some of you have suggested, pointed out, and give you some feedback back from your feedback. So it's like a feedback loop. And yeah, so we're going to get into all that. We have a lot of thoughts. I think a lot of it will be coming from John, but Patrick and I certainly have some things to interject. So I guess without further ado, I have introduced my co-hosts, and I guess we start with you, John. Take it away.
Thanks to everyone who's here today. Our main thing we wanted to do today was thank everybody that did take the survey. Um, it was a lot of people. We've had hundreds of responses so far. So, thank you to everyone who did do that for us because it's been extremely helpful up to this point. So we are doing a Q&A. We'll take answers from everybody after we kind of get through our talking points. So if you guys just want to hold your questions until then, that'd be probably better. So we can just hurry up and get through all this other stuff and then talk to you guys directly. So today we are streaming and we are addressing surveys, questions, and everything. All right. The main thing we want to talk about is there may have been an over sort of, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but there may have been sort of an over emphasis on AI in our reveal. But I mean, obviously, that's should be expected when quite literally you're demoing AI, right? We just thought that would be a really cool way to introduce our software that we're working on. So one thing we'd like to emphasize today is that we are not an AI company. We are a technology company who happens to be doing AI. The software is the main focus, for what we're working on right now. The AI is just a part of the software. It's a feature, right? The software should, it's going to be able to stand on its own. Like, it's going to be great without AI. So I think, that needs to be stated as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why people might have come away with the impression that it was all AI is because that was the focus of our demo. But yeah, I think inadvertently we might have communicated that, that's all it is. And it's actually, you would not have to use AI with Nechepso at all and still have a fantastic piece of software. Sorry to interject that, John. Just wanted to underline that.
Right. So going back on the the surveys, we actually got a lot of really useful information here. We asked the questions, you guys responded. We were able to group the different demographics together and kind of see, which group of people feel which way and everything else. Like for instance, as far as like the people who, who's using AI and who's not, right? 23% not at all, 9% roughly used it one time. So about a third of the people never used or only used it once. Sometimes it was 43%, and then if you combine quite a lot and people who use it every day, it's about a quarter, right? So we were able to kind of get these numbers together and really get a nice detailed view of the demographic and what each group of people is expecting from us on our end. So that was really useful information. We were able to get the splits on, who took the survey, right? A lot of professional astrologers, a lot of astrology enthusiasts, and astrology students, almost, well, really all of them. Only 2.6% of the people who took the survey identified as casually into astrology. But I think, guys, we kind of expected that to be the target audience for this, did we not?
Well, given that's kind of our audience, the kind of people who are following us on the Astrology Livestream here are going to be those type of folks.
They'll be at a certain level for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. And then, sentiment. Now, this is one thing that I really, was happy to see. I think we all were, that the sentiment regarding the announcement and the responses was overwhelmingly positive. Oh my goodness. There's a spider climbing up my wall right here. Okay, anyway, I'm just going to ignore it. That's unique.
He's coming for you, John. He's coming for you.
Oh no. His arachnophobia is kicking in.
No, I'm not afraid of it. It should probably be afraid of me if it gets next to me, though. I'll tell you that. All right. So anyway, aside from the spider, we're gonna move on. Must be something in the sixth house or something going on here. So sentiment. It's been overwhelmingly positive. Like, probably, I would say the positive reaction was at a higher clip than what we initially expected. Would you guys say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
we were expecting some haters. We didn't really get haters.
Well, we did, but
No,
not at the rate we thought.
I didn't think our haters weren't terribly hatey.
I guess I just had internalized the some of the typical criticisms that you see and fears surrounding AI, not internalizing them in terms of like me adopting them myself, but just knowing that there are people who feel so negatively about it makes me think a lot more of those people, even if they actually represent a much smaller percentage of people. So I actually expected there to be kind of a larger response, because I guess I'm more of a Chicken Little type in that way, or paranoid. But I was very pleasantly surprised to see that the vast majority of respondents were really enthusiastic, and really the people who responded more negatively and had more negative emotions about AI itself also tended to be people who had never tried it, and also tend to be people who didn't have much familiarity with it. So it seems like that might be part of the reason. If it's something that you fear or dislike, then you're going to be less likely to use it. But you also, you may that potentially implies you might change your mind if you used it more. You saw the benefit it could bring.
So just to be totally transparent here, do you guys? Okay, yeah. Just going to show you guys exactly how this shook out. This was as of this morning, and like I said, we've had hundreds of responses, and like I said, in the spirit of transparency here, you can see this is exactly how it shook out up to now, which is fantastic. Yeah, just to give you a
best
little
report card I've ever received.
It's
but
a little hard to see what these labels are.
Well, yeah, I can break it down. It's the the dark green is the very positive, which is 52%.
Mm-hmm.
And this was actually consistent across all demographics. Essentially, 50%-ish of everybody, professional astrologers, enthusiasts, students, even the casual people, even though it was only a few, were very positive. So the more than the majority of everyone was very positive. The lighter green, not the lightest, but the mid green here is somewhat positive, which was 20%. Positive other, which is people who didn't select just the standard answer. They typed something in, but it was positive. They represented 5%. Neutral 12%. Neutral other 2%. Somewhat negative 5%. Very negative only 2%, and negative other was 2% as well. So Just to
Yeah,
give a
I read those negative ones, and they did not have enough hate or vitriol to satisfy my need for that kind of negativity. So, yeah, I felt all overall it was quite productive.
right. So one of the things we want to do today was talk about some of the responses on the survey, and that's what we're going to look at here moving forward. We can go ahead and start with one of the questions we had was, what techniques must Nechepso be able to do? What is everybody looking for in that respect? And I can actually pull this up now and show you guys again, kind of, and I'll break it down like I did the other time. Okay. All right. So what must Nechepso be able to do? This is what you guys said. 22% core predictive technique, the big blue. 17% traditional and Hellenistic techniques. 15% advanced predictive timing. Chart customization and multi-chart analysis is in the yellow. Integration with other traditions, 9%. Unique and innovative features, 7%. Accessibility for screen readers, 5%. Database integration and chart management, 4%. At this stage, you guys kind of get the point. I can zoom in and go around. How about this? Just so you can see, the largest group was core predictive techniques, 22%. I'll just go through this because I literally just said all this stuff. So just go through so you guys can see real quick. I'm not trying to spend too much time on these graphics like this because, it'll get really repetitive really quick. So there's that. All right. So with that in mind now, and once again, this is all in the spirit of transparency. We just want to show you guys that we've really taken the time to go through everything that you have said to us, and put a lot of thought and consideration into it. So from there, all right. So let's talk about the software a bit now, because that is what we're emphasizing here today. Is once again, the software on its own is going to be fantastic, AI or no AI, right? So. One of the things that people mentioned on there was, being able to do certain techniques and everything. We can just start by saying that the software is going to be able to do all the techniques that are currently available in other places. We wouldn't release something and claim that, hey, this is the future of software, and then, but oh wait, it can't do what? We need it to cover those bases, so you guys don't have anything to worry about as far as that's concerned. But yeah. There was a lot of things on there about innovation, new stuff. Really, I guess that would be why we even kind of started this. There's so many things that we wanted to do that we were unable to do. So it's kind of one of the reasons why, this all came together like this. But yeah, so we plan on expanding beyond this with things that's never been done before. One of the things, Patrick, if you want to talk about it, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so as you may know if you followed my work, I offer things like spreadsheet calculators, and I used to consider myself somewhat of a spreadsheet wizard, but I feel like I've met a few people now, John included, who realize that there are some spreadsheet skills that go even beyond my own. And I really wanted to explore some of the more obscure timing techniques which are mentioned in ancient literature. So one in particular that interested me was a method of timing activations of individual planets as well as aspects by combining the minor periods of those planets as well as the ascensional periods of those planets based on the sign they're in, and looking at their combinations and divisions. So that's a pretty straightforward mathematical calculation to make, but you can do this between any, combination of planets. And so it ends up generating a huge number of potential activation points. And so when I tried my third time of making this spreadsheet software, I really wanted to be able to visualize that data and be able to kind of make sense of it. But I was successful. I really was able to improve that calculator. I was able to use ChatGPT to even show me how to use certain APIs in order to automatically populate the planets in a person's natal chart by just entering your birth data in on the sheet itself. It was going to be really, really good, but it just was so large that it slowed the whole thing down. And the data visualization component required such a huge number of cells to be filled in with formulas that it would take 5 minutes for one calculation to be made, for the whole sheet to update. And so, it was right around the time that I was getting frustrated with the limitations of Google Sheets that John and I started talking about, what other solutions we might have for astrological software in general. And no astrology software currently does this. So one of the ideas I had was, well, instead of keeping this on a spreadsheet calculator, let's actually put this in a legitimate piece of software that can dynamically and speedily do these kind of visualizations and calculations. And so that's going to be a major part. That's going to be one of the things you're going to be able to do in Nechepso. You're going to be able to calculate these periods and have a visualization of them, and even gain, if you choose to use the AI component, to get some interpretive clues about what those periods could mean. So there's been a lot of spreadsheet calculator based projects I've had like that, where I've almost reached the limit of what I can do with spreadsheets. And so now we're going to be able to kind of do those things sort of more properly in a piece of software, and they haven't been done yet. Even in a piece of software that's more Hellenistically centered, like Delphic Oracle doesn't have that particular Time Lord method in that software. And there are so many little ones sort of like that scattered throughout that it's going to be really exciting to actually be able to experiment and explore all of these different Time Lord systems, as well as being able to cross-reference events in your life between different Time Lord methods at the same time. Because the idea is that you'll have a list of chart events, a list of events that are associated with a given nativity, and you'll be able to flip through, different Time Lord methods and instantly see where those events in someone's chronology lines up. That's the kind of thing I've wanted to be able to do, to know, how these things are kind of working all together. And, we're finally, in so many different ways, this is true for Nick as well, I know too, that we have questions about astrology that we just no longer have the tools to answer. So in some ways, this is our attempt to just actually build that thing and to have the actual tool we need to further investigate some of these questions. We can't go further until we really have this kind of tool at our disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, we're creating this so that we can use it. We're just,
Yeah, right.
It just so happens we're going to let the rest of you use it too, but that absolutely is the primary motivation. Patrick, your heliacal rising and setting calculator is another thing that reminds me of the kind of tools we're going to have in Nechepso that you just can't, you couldn't have done with any of the existing astrology softwares. It's only really just becoming possible now. And there's all kinds of different features like this that we have in mind that we're developing. Some of them, as Patrick was explaining, that are cast rigidly along the lines of trying to recreate the methods that we find in ancient texts. And then, some of you also wanted to hear about innovations, outright innovations. And there are some things like that we have going as well. One thing that I'm really interested in particular is combining planetary synodic cycles, especially their combinations of several planetary cycles, which sort of meet up at certain ages, at certain intervals in solar returns, and coordinating this with the use of annual perfections, because the way these two sort of techniques merge becomes really, really interesting and provides this whole other way of looking at charts. I'll give you an example. At the 47th solar return, you get a simultaneous Mars and Jupiter synodic return. It only happens at the age of 47 in a human lifetime, but that's at the age of 47 is also a 12th house perfection year. So everyone's got a 12th house in their chart. Everyone has Mars and Jupiter in their charts. But some people have more sort of distinguished relationships between Mars and Jupiter, and some of those are going to have a distinct relationship with the 12th house. Either one or both of those planets are in the 12th house, things like that. And one knows immediately that that fusion, that combination of Mars and Jupiter, whatever those planets mean in a given individual's chart, if they have that kind of connection in the 12th house, through annual perfections that it's going to come to realization. You're going to have something, an event in the life of the native at the age of 47, that's going to reflect the joint synodic return of those two planets and the context of it being in the 12th house. So there's this integrated method of taking something natural like the planetary synodic cycles, really an ancient Babylonian idea, and merging it with some of these, other methods that we have from other, periods in astrology's history.
That's so funny. That's really quite similar, actually, to the method I was just talking about from Valence, which is it doesn't do it in the same way, but it's still combined. Like, so for example, you might take the minor period of Jupiter, which is 12 years, and the minor period of Mars, which is 15, add those together. So essentially one Mars synodic cycle plus a Jupiter synodic cycle equals a kind of Mars Jupiter time, at 27. So there's that kind of additive version, and then the combinatorial combined version, like you're talking about with 47. So this is these are the kind of things that these are all kind of scattered things, or things that currently you might have only sort of heard about, but in this software, it will actually know those things, like, age 47, 12th house year, Mars Jupiter recurrence. It'll give you kind of that human ephemeris like edge in your own research and work with clients.
Absolutely.
Research is one of the things that we want to focus on too. We're having a lot of discussions about how to implement the research module in a way that makes real research possible. Whether that's, as someone in the chat mentioned, the tabular data, like Patrick was talking about, we probably have so many different spreadsheets for so many different things. I know I do. I mean, I've made a bunch of different spreadsheets for a million different things. But some of the other features that we're in this kind of a weird place where we don't want to reveal too much, but we know that, we got to tell you guys some of the really cool ideas that we have. So like one of the things we already mentioned last time was just the database cloud integration, being able to, save a chart on your phone and then go to your PC and it's there already, or, vice versa. You download the app, and upon signing into the app, it loads all your charts automatically into your phone. So something like that. I believe I did mention the auto mundane chart detection thing that I'm looking to add last time, where I plan on having something, that is sort of like a web scraper, where it would look for headlines, and then whenever a headline happens, it takes the timestamp, looks at the location, and automatically generates mundane charts. And then you have the ability to kind of look and say, I want to keep this one, not that one. And that would be totally customizable. We are looking at advanced stuff with zodiacal releasing and perfections, which, as far as perfections is concerned, you just heard Nick discuss some of that stuff with synodic cycles. I think I did mention briefly the reverse asteroid search thing, where you said, it'd have to be a very small orb. But instead of, typing and looking up asteroid names out of the hundreds of thousands that exist, just having a reverse search that shows you stuff that's exactly on your points, versus, you having to try to find everything by yourself individually. Speaking of asteroids, another thing that we were talking about is, if you have the hard drive space and you want it, giving people the ability to just download the entire asteroid database, versus having 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever. we'll probably have different options for that. Like, if you want to download 1,000, sure. But, if you want to download the whole thing, you can do that too. It's up to you completely. Some other stuff we've talked about, rectification. You guys want to chime in on any of that? Some of the rectification ideas?
So, part of what we have talked about having is event charts associated with a particular person's life, so that it's not like, currently to do this in a software like SolarFire, you would have to essentially create a new folder specifically for that person. But each person in a database will have sort of attached or related charts to that person. And now this won't necessarily have to rely on the AI function, but the idea, or at least the way I sort of hoped or presumed this would work, is that you would be able to ask the AI to be able to sort of query the events and take note of the connections and like what they what commonalities or what patterns potentially sort of exist between these different events, as a way of being able to narrow down possible rising signs. Basically, the other idea I had is that we might be able to have it kind of guide a user through eliminating certain options, sort of taking it through a similar rectification process as I outline in my course with Chris Brennan. Sort of a similar approach of kind of asking questions to sort of help narrow it down.
Like a rectification wizard.
Kind of, yeah. So there's a few different approaches we can take to that, and we may still come up with some other methods for that as we continue developing it. But rectification is absolutely something we would want it to be able to do, and that we absolutely have the technological capability of being able to put in motion.
So some other stuff we've discussed, like right now, as Patrick just said, you can make in SolarFire, you could make like a list of charts and you can group things by list, but we want to add more detailed labeling. So, we plan on having tagging, kind of like hashtags, where you can just create categories that transcend all lists. So you can still make a list, but you can also create categories, and it's a way that will allow people to browse their data in a much more efficient manner, and it would significantly help for research purposes and everything else too. You heard us mention the journal thing, the last live stream. And one of the other things we discussed was, people that are professional astrologers having client journals, right? And one thing I will say about this while we're here, even though we're going to talk about it later, privacy is a really big thing that came up a lot too in these surveys. And these sorts of things, they would not be accessible by, we would not have any access to the journals or your conversations with the AI. That's why we're making the AI locally deployable to your device. You can talk to the AI without an internet connection, right? And the reason why we're doing it in this way is explicitly so you can keep the data entirely on your device and totally separate from us. And I want to kind of emphasize that point too, regarding all of that, that's one thing that you will not have to worry about at all.
This is real. Thank you, John. I just wanted to interject. This is super, super important, because the very nature of this product is, an individual can develop a very deep relationship with it. This is an astrology software that can wind up understanding your whole life from birth to finish. Obviously it won't know you're finished until you're finished, but it covers you all the way through, and so yeah, that's not a level of privacy that I think just about anyone would want shared with the world. So the very nature of this product is it has to be super secure. It has to be unique to the individual who holds it, and so this is absolutely sacrosanct, not just for the usual reasons that we want privacy, But because the very nature of this product is it's as personal as anything gets, and therefore cannot fall into the hands of others.
Right.
And as a practicing astrologer, you're dealing oftentimes with people's private information, and so
Of course,
it's you're not going to be able to be trusted by clients if you aren't using things which are secure. But I mean, even right now, things can get hacked or whatever. But the important thing is, and I think you sort of spoke on this, John, earlier outside of this live stream, that if Nechepso, like if we, at our service or something got like compromised, that wouldn't affect anyone's private information because of the way it's stored, because it's decentralized storage on everyone's local machine. There is no central database where your information is.
That's correct.
So it can't be
we
hacked.
don't want it, and we don't want it.
We have no intentions of collecting any of that stuff. So it's very important, something we really need to emphasize here. So some other things we've talked about. Well, we've actually had some really cool innovations we've thought of for whenever you go to animate charts, browsing through the different time periods. Might end up leaving some of that to the imagination currently. But some really cool stuff you're going to be able to do that was not able to be done before. And just while we're talking about charts, the concept of charts, I feel like is, whenever you download a software or you go to use a software, there's always like a million preset different like wheel designs and just all this other stuff. And, we really want to simplify the customization process, where, whenever you're looking at your chart wheel, we're going to have it to where it's very easy to just turn things on and off, or, do a whole lot of things. Once again, I don't want to get too much in detail, but it's, the customization side of it is going to be very easy for anybody to use in a way that is never been easy like this before, because everything kind of has a certain degree of difficulty to it. And yeah, so let's see, layers like Photoshop. Not quite, even though that is a cool concept. But yeah, we'll get more on that. It's a lot that, we've thought of, but like I said, we kind of got to be careful on what we put out there just yet, because, we'll start revealing more of this stuff as we get closer to the actual release, because we kind of want to use some of these cool things as, as we approach the date, actually showing it off, like video demos or using it for content to kind of get you guys excited about what we're doing. So that's a big reason why we don't want to, just lay it all out here like this. You know what I mean? We've thought of really cool stuff for elections. We've thought, there was back on the research real quick while I'm thinking about it. We did have someone reach out to us through email about, we were just talking about like the privacy side of things. We mentioned, the journal and how astrologers have to deal with, clients, and how, the personal module, people don't want their business out there either. But also, we had, I responded to an email where someone reached out about, private information, client information, and research related stuff. So just another emphasis here that, it's going to be a very, we're looking at having the tightest security on this as possible. It's a major emphasis. So you guys don't have to worry about that, because we are worried quite a bit on it. We're thinking of all the possible things that we could do to make this as, awesome as we can. Another thing that came up was Zoom, right? If Zoom's gonna be integrated, do you have to use Zoom, or will there be other options? Yeah, Zoom's not gonna be the only option. We just want to make it easy for people to conference call, directly through the software, and there will be other options outside of Zoom. We plan on including, unique stuff dealing with tarot, numerology. Like I said, we thought of different ways to kind of switch between things in the charts, but also like rule ships. Like, currently, if you look at, the Decans, for instance, there's two different types of rulerships. Technically, you could do the Chaldean or the triplicity rulers. So just even having an option where you can just turn it on where it just shows both, right? Or simple stuff like that just makes the chart a lot easier to read, and you don't have to go to your settings and flip back and forth between which just a lot of little details like that, but a lot of big things too. So another key point I guess we should discuss is our emphasis on aesthetics. Some people, they did say, this has to look nice. This is 2024. That's also one of the reasons why we decided to do this, because we feel the same way. It has to look great, right? We
Get
have
rid of the clutter.
a major emphasis on aesthetics and making it look great, making it look like it's the future, not just saying that it is, right? Just we want it to be very easy to use. We want it to, look really clean, modern. We still want it to, people to be able to customize it however they want. But customization shouldn't feel like, you're getting your teeth pulled or something, which in some cases it can be in other stuff. So
toggles.
Yeah, well,
Oh, no.
a lot of easy, things that are also going to, just add to the overall user experience. So let's see, other stuff we got here. Currently looking for help on Vedic. Yes. I don't know if we should we put that like as an ad or?
Yeah,
Hey,
no, I mean,
anybody?
we have some ideas, and there may be some people we specifically reach out to, but we obviously don't have a background in Vedic astrology and sidereal Indian astrology, and so we would absolutely love for Nechepso to be useful to people who use the sidereal zodiac and use Indian traditions of astrology, and so we would love to have some help with filling out those data sets and helping us make the software just as useful for those other traditions of astrology. So
Yeah, there was a few people who reached out and said it would be really cool if it was able to do like more niche stuff, or at least niche for us, which would be like Chinese astrology and stuff like that. And I mean, we're not opposed to that, right?
no, not at all.
The question is, who can we get to help write that stuff, right? Like, if we
Right.
don't know it,
We don't have the expertise to do that.
yeah, we need, if there's people out there that can assist with that, we'd absolutely love to hear them out and try to include as much of that stuff in here as we can, to make it as diverse as possible. So another thing we should probably discuss is accessibility. We did have a few replies about people that have disabilities being able to have access to the software. And next week we do have a meeting scheduled to make this happen. We're going to try to ensure that this is accessible to everybody that wants it. So that is a step we are taking as well. Let's see. Anything you guys want to add on that? Or
Yeah, it was really it was pretty I guess eye-opening to know that there are so many vision impaired astrology students and astrologers who struggle on a daily basis to have one software that serves and meets all of their needs. And I can't imagine how frustrating that would be to have to kind of piecemeal your softwares based on just something as simple as accessing that. So I feel like that's a problem that we really want to solve for this particular group of people.
Accessibility for sure.
Yeah, like we want everyone to be able to use this.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's unfortunately this group of people tend to be overlooked, forgotten, just not thought of, just not remembered. But we are not forgetting. We're not forgetting them at all.
Absolutely.
That's I feel like this is a simpler simpler problem to solve. So let's just do it,
We are looking into integrating statistical analysis into the research module. And we think that's going to be big too. Like if you guys have like these big research projects you want to do, being able to natively do them in the software, we think is something that we definitely want to help people achieve, right? If you want to do scientific research to prove, I don't know, people are more moody during full moons, we want you to be able to use our software to do this, right? And so we are looking at integrating actual statistical analysis tools into our research module. And we've inquired about some assistance with that too recently. But yeah, main thing is, the AI itself, while we did talk about it and demo it, and it's really cool because, there really isn't any other AI out there that has the ability to maintain a level of accuracy of what we've been able to create. So that's why we were excited about it. We wanted to show you guys, but this is just a feature of the software once again, right? And that's a big reason why we wanted to talk to you guys about this today. I mean, part of me even feels like maybe even just roll out the software for like a month or two without the AI, just to show people, hey,
yeah, use it without the AI.
and well, also, and then people who are weary about the AI, that would allow them to kind of try the software out without AI. And we actually are likely going to end up putting an option where if you want to use the software without AI, we'll allow you to opt into that too. You don't have to have the AI if you don't want. So that's another option we're looking at as well.
Yeah. I got to say though, one ironic thing about some people who fear that AI may replace them is I feel like the only astrologers in danger of being replaced are going to be those who don't embrace these tools to augment their practice. I feel like you're going to become more unreplaceable if you have this kind of software at your side.
You won't be replaced by AI. You'll be replaced by astrologers who are using AI.
I love that quote.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I hope that
Sure
eventually everyone can give it a shot and see what it can do for what they want to do. But yeah, I think that's a great option though, to allow people to because that is true. You don't have to use the AI at all, and you would still be able to have a perfectly functional, wonderful software.
You would still have a software that does way more than any of the existing ones. Yeah.
Right. And one of the things, like, another one of our core things we've discussed and how we want to move with all this is not making anybody feel alienated, right? If you're like, AI, we don't want you to just totally disregard the product. So we're trying to think of ways to be accommodative for everybody, because this is going to be a big step forward in software. And we want everyone who decides to try it or use it to, feel as comfortable with it as they can. But yeah, now with the AI though, one thing I would like to say about it as well, the version that's going to roll out on locally, it is meant more of as an assistant. It's not going to work like it's like an astrologer. It's not going to, just be doing its own thing essentially. And you guys will understand once you see how it's the technical layout of it. It's meant as an augmentation tool. It's meant to enhance what you're doing. It's an assistant. It's not its own, just entity that's going to run wild. Now, we do have plans to make a larger version of the local model available on a server, and it's going to be trained on a larger base model. And that model may be able to do a lot more things, but this isn't going to be linked to the software. It would be something where you would choose to go to it and talk to it if you want. It's not like it, comes with the software or anything, because it would be accessed through a web server, and the AI that comes with the software is going to be local, and for the reasons that we've discussed. So that's why we've decided to make that separation. But it will be trained, like I say that, but it will be trained on how to interpret different things. There was an email that we got that said, "Hey, you were just asking it like questions about stuff." Well, that's because the data is not written all the way.
Yeah,
We
and
can
that was an
only talk
incomplete
to it.
version.
Yeah, we can only talk to it about what has been trained on. So yeah, I can't ask it about interpretations if it hasn't been trained on interpretations yet. But it
Still
will
writing
be.
them.
Yeah, it will be trained on interpretations, and it will be trained on advanced delineations. That was one of the main things we really wanted it to be able to do in our initial discussions. Instead of just your cookie cutter, Mars is in the second house, or this planet is in this sign. We want it to be able to look, okay, this planet is ruled by this planet. However, this planet is in a superior aspect to this planet, taking a lot of things into consideration and being able to kind of give a cohesive explanation.
Right. And not only that, but be able to say, like,
How that
it's going
may
to be
look.
active in this year and this year. And, the
Right.
Mars retrogrades that occur in this sign, are going to happen in these times. And, if you want to investigate it, this is where you'd have to look. I think, so although it's going to be able to provide advanced delineations taking into account like the multiple layers of dignities and aspect doctrine and things like that,
It's still just an assistant.
it would still require your filtering, because it may, you might be able to give it enough of a prompt to get exactly what you want, but it's going to give you some information that you're still going to have to decide what to share with a client. Like if you're using it with a client, and you put in like a really stressful looking aspect and you get a very detailed delineation from the software, we are not suggesting that you should just like read that off to the client and think that that's good enough. You're still going to have to use your own power of discernment as an astrologer in assessing the situation and with the individual person and their needs, like what you say to them. Like it still requires that bit of human translation, I think. So even though we will be able to provide what I hope will be very good and very useful delineations, it can't do readings by itself. It can't be relied upon to give, to have to bear that weight. That's kind of like,
but it will know a lot, and it can direct an astrologer towards certain things that might be relevant but might not occur to the astrologer. So it's
That's
certainly it's a very we don't want to overstate things, but we also don't want to understate them.
right.
Right.
It's going to know a lot, and probably no matter how developed and advanced a given astrologer is, the tool is going to have these other insights that or it'll just see things that the astrologer might not see right away, but that could be really helpful and ultimately make the astrologer better at what they do. It's not just something that you can set on automatic pilot and it does all the heavy lifting, but it certainly is, like as a guide, a really, really sophisticated and all-knowing, well-schooled brain.
My
Jake.
hope would be that if a professional astrologer is using it and they put in a question about something, my hope is that Nechepso comes out with stuff that makes the astrologer go like, damn, that's a good idea. Like, helpful. Thank you very much. That's actually really useful. Like, I want people to have that kind of reaction. Like, damn, that is a good thing to think about or look at. Or I want it to be really useful in that way. And so I'm really, in all our work in putting all of this data, we're keeping that in mind. Like, how can this answer be most beneficial to an astrologer and really point them in like the right direction to go. And a lot of stuff still has to be written. There are some great questions in here, but we'll get to them at the end of.
Right. I was just going to say to Jake about the finance thing real quick. There is a financial module, and just to kind of give a little idea of the technical application of how the AI will be in the software. Like whenever you're talking to it, there's going to be, for instance, like almost like a drop down menu where you can tell, like you would specify, okay, we're talking about something that's in the the personal module or the workspace module or the research module or the financial module. Like you would tell it, where you're looking for its guidance, so to speak. I don't think that we're going to have it like, being like, hey, buy signal, go, or anything like that. But I wanted to touch on what Patrick had already said about, the deferring to astrologers and stuff. I will say, we are training it on ethics and social skills. That is another big area of focus. We don't want someone to be like, hey, calculate the length of life technique and tell me when I'm going to kick the bucket, right? So we don't want to answer stuff like that. It's going to be trained on how to deal with certain high pressure social interactions, I guess is a good way to put it. So it's, it's not going to be just.
And I'm glad you said that, because one of the big reasons that we see that this software wouldn't be able to replace astrologers is because there are some things that someone may ask about that would be unethical for an AI to do without like any human judgment, such as questions like that, where there's like a serious ethical or moral quandary. Astrologers are still going to be needed to require some of those more complex and nuanced cases. So there are just still some issues which it would be almost irresponsible to let AI handle on its own. So I think if anything, the job of astrologers will become more interesting. You might get more kind of marginal cases where people have very particular questions that like an AI, not that an AI couldn't potentially try to tackle, but just that, we do have to set up certain guardrails, because that was another big concern of ours and of yours from the survey, is the potential for misuse.
We're about to show you guys the concerns that you had about AI and astrology. But yeah, just piggybacking on what Patrick just said, the same thing applies with finance, right? If we allow the AI to be like, yeah, buy here, sell here, and then it ends up being a terrible decision, there's a level of liability that goes with that, it's just not, not a very plausible thing for us to try to include, So
I'm laughing at Jake's comment. It's 2001 Space Odyssey reference.
Yeah. Okay. What do we mean by modules? Real quick. So the way that the software is laid out, the software opens up. There are modules located, they're like buttons, I guess you could say, where each one of these opens up a fully immersive module that has a different purpose. Like we said, the personal module, which is tailored to the user. The workspace module is basically what you would expect from Solar Fire or anything else. We're gonna have a research module, a finance astrology module, just a lot of different things like that. And our goal is to have each module immersive enough where it could stand by itself, as a specialized software for something, right? So moving on to the concerns about AI and astrology here. This is the next big question. Let me share this real quick. And I'll zoom in this time so we can kind of get to it. Everybody see? All right, there we go. All right, so the question, what are your concerns? What are your concerns about AI in astrology? 28% of people, accuracy, which obviously that's a big concern for everybody. Potential to replace humans was 18%. Data, privacy, and security, 16%. Ethical concerns around data sources and misuse, 15%. This is, I'm sure you guys can see, consistent theme. AI's inability to provide genuine human connection, 11%. And then let's see, AI's impact on the profession and knowledge base at 7%. Accessibility and inclusivity, I want to say that was 3%, but it's not showing up. And concerns about AI development and implementation, 2%. So just to give you an idea, like I said, in the spirit of transparency here, just sharing with you what you've shared with us, So yeah, let's discuss some of this stuff. We already kind of touched on some of it, right?
Mhm.
As far as the ethics and everything, and people not having to worry so much about their data. Um, yeah, so
I don't mean to pick on anyone. There
I
were
knew it
there
was
were a
coming.
few people. I
I
don't
knew
mean
it
to
was
pick on
coming.
anyone, but there were a few people who selected that they were both afraid of AI replacing astrologers, and also that AI could not form genuine human connections. And I don't know how you can feel like I feel like you got to pick one. If you're worried that AI can't form genuine human connections, then you probably don't need to worry about it replacing astrologers, right? Um, because astrologers can do that if an AI can't. So I thought that was interesting that there were a few people who selected both of those at the same time, and I thought that was a little amusing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, again, I don't mean to pick. I'm being sort of quasi facetious. I mean, I suppose you could
Well, no,
be
it's funny.
you could
Uh,
be equally concerned about both of those in different ways, I guess.
yeah,
People are
astrology
paradoxes,
that is a very big concern across the board. I think for many people, I would say astrology podcast with the comment there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
The astrology
very big
podcast
concern.
just said my main concern with AI is not being able to look into Nick's beautiful eyes when I'm having a consultation with him. I mean, for now that remains elusive, uh,
So
unless you
the
go with him.
alas. Yeah,
the
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 camera's at kind of a high angle, but
the main thing, so the number one response there was accuracy. So just to touch on that,
Mhm.
we have a really structured training approach that we've implemented for the AI. And the way we've structured everything is meant to emphasize accuracy at the highest level. We are still thinking of potential ways to improve it. Like by no means have we just settled on, oh, this is it. Any ideas we have to make it better or more robust or whatever we can, we're going to make it happen. Um,
Right.
Another thing that I think I should mention is with all of this is that, this isn't something where you just kind of, all right, we're done. And then we release it and throw our hands in the air. This is going to be a continuous process. It's going to be something that we're always working on, always trying to improve, always make better. Um, you don't have to worry about this thing becoming deprecated over time, like some others may have. And the accuracy is a very, very, very high priority for us. And like I said, we've already been able to achieve a level of accuracy that I haven't seen anywhere else. But we're still trying to improve that. And one of the ways I think we're going to be able to improve that is the technical application of how you interact with the AI. I was just talking with Patrick about it yesterday, but kind of alluded to it a little here today. But you guys will see a little bit more of that in the future. But yeah, so I guess we can kind of group a lot of this other stuff together, like data privacy, security, ethical concerns around data. Like it's a big thing that came up consistently. Um, and we did touch on it in our last live stream, but there was, some instances of people voicing concerns of stuff that we actually did mention, but it came kind of towards the end of the stream. So we'll just go over that again, just to add emphasis and make sure everybody's on the same page with this. We are, as we said earlier, taking measures making the Nechepso as secure as possible. For instance, like I said, making the LLM local, the AI. We will not have access to, nor will we request any personal or sensitive information that could be shared with like Nechepso through the journal or the conversations or anything like that. All this data will be stored locally. We're not going to be anywhere near it. As far as the data sources, it's really important for us to emphasize, up to this point, quite literally, everything that the AI has been trained on has been written out by hand entirely. No one's works have been used to create the data at all. That's why Nick and Patrick have had to kind of take a step back from what they normally do. Uh, it's because it's such a meticulous process to write out every detail of knowledge that you possibly can. And so this was something that came up a lot. So I really wanted to emphasize this again, is that we're not just like taking people's books and scanning them and throwing them through the model to train on. That's not how this is happening at all. And I think there are a lot of misconceptions on how AI is trained. So this is a really important point for me to drive home right now. I will say that there are people that we have gotten permission from that are authors to mention them. But even these people that we've mentioned and we've gotten permission from, it's not like we didn't even quote their works directly. There's not a passage from their books that's used. It's just some concepts. They're authors who have done such a good job of explaining them and how they work. They deserve the credit. Like, hey, this person says this is how you do this thing. They deserve that credit, and we wanted to make sure that they got the credit that they deserved for those things. But still didn't even use a single passage from anybody's works or anything like that. We did request a benchmark so people can see how good or how bad AI actually is in astrology. We're waiting to hear how that
We
vote
also
turns out.
requested that the benchmark include provisions to protect people's intellectual copyright, to
Right.
make sure that you don't just have random companies coming up with astrology AIs looking for being able to like reach that benchmark, but the data is full of stuff that they've just scraped online. So we are astrologers. Like, we have absolutely no interest in in taking anyone's intellectual copyright, and like, we understand that's like a big concern with AI, but that is not how we're doing this. We're doing this like the hardest, slowest, most tedious way possible. And also, but we also think this will have superior results in the end, because the quality of data almost matters more than the volume, of
Right.
of uncurated data. So anyone doing this and wanting to do it really, really well would have to go through this exact same process that we're going through. And who knows, if we are doing a little more successfully as a company, we can bring on more astrologers. We could, potentially, get licenses for copyrighted works. But rest assured, any kind of data we have is from our knowledge and experience, or from public domain sources, or with the author's permission or license, period. Like, it just has to be that way, because otherwise it's it's going to be ethically compromised. It's not going to be legitimate. It's going to be vulnerable and liable. And we want to we don't want to be fighting off lawsuits. We want to just make something that is super awesome and that everyone loves, and that advances the study of astrology. So,
And just on a side note, to answer Jake's question about Petrosiris, Petrosiris is Nechepso's silent partner in this project. So it's Nechepso, Petrosiris, and it's all under one umbrella. It's the fusion of these great minds.
You can
in one software.
I'm sure you could probably ask Nechepso to change his name to whatever you want, and maybe even select a different voice if you want. I just want to quickly address Miguel's question here. Will you wait for that certification benchmark process for ISO or others before releasing Nechepso? No, but as soon as it becomes available, we will obviously submit AI for validation. So
Right.
that's the answer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was actually going to mention that myself. I'm not sure when we'll hear back on the benchmark thing, but I mean, like I said, we're even considering, maybe releasing the software for a month or two without the AI, just so people can get the hang of it first anyway. And just see, hey, this is a great piece of software without the AI. So then by the time you do get the AI, it's like, oh, this is better than I ever imagined. At least, that's what we're going for here. So other stuff we should probably talk about on top of that, Patrick already mentioned people mentioning the inability to provide genuine human connection. While we do plan on training the Nechepso on social skills and ethics, it's not a human. So technically, probably can't provide a human connection anyway. It's going to be used as an assistant. So don't think anyone should really have to worry as much about the AI's impact on the profession and knowledge base. So Nechepso is in no way a replacement for astrologers. We've said that a few times now. I think the best way that I could describe it is that Nechepso should be used to augment the user's experience, not define it. And that's what we're going for. We want the AI to enhance the experience. We don't want the experience to be centered around the AI. And for that reason, we have a lot of barriers and a lot of things, we've put in place that, I think makes that fairly clear. And, you guys will see that as things begin to roll out. And so I think that pretty much covers that question. Concerns about AI. What do you guys think?
I think a concrete example of that would be, say you have a question about, like, say the upcoming Mars retrograde in Leo, for a given client. The AI would be able to tell you not only kind of a delineation of like what types of things they might expect based on the house that is happening in, but also that there was a Mars retrograde in Leo in December of 2009 through February of 2010. And at previous times, like, it would sort of automatically give you those things. Like that, like Nick and I would know that just from our own memory of like transits, but we know that not everyone has that kind of like ephemeris type of but not everyone has that memory basically of the ephemeris. And so this would like augment your experience in being able to counsel that person, because it would automatically bring up those previous times that it went retrograde in that sign, and that enables the astrologer then to go, yeah, so these are the things you might be able to expect from it, but we might also be able to talk about some of these previous periods of your life where you had the same transit, and you wouldn't have to look it up. It would just kind of come up. It would be giving, and that's what we mean, like augmenting. Like it kind of gives you that extra superpower. And in some ways, we're leveling the playing field, for for you guys with me and Nick, and anyone else who has parts of the ephemeris memorized. It would give you that kind of superpower sort of at your disposal. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other use cases, but that's just one that occurred to me.
Yeah, the cycles of Mercury, knowing that, the ages of 13, 33, 46, that these are special ages where Mercury makes a synodic return. And then with all of those specific ages, again, occur at very specific perfection years. And so it'll understand the Mercury cycle in this very sophisticated way, along with all the others.
Or if you had like a list of events associated with a person, the AI might be able to point out, hey, did you know that this person got these two jobs at the same phase of Mercury? You might want to be aware of that. And then you could go, well, damn, thank you very much for letting me know. I wouldn't have, necessarily seen that. Or maybe it would say, hey, just so you know, like these past few events that are similar, like happened with a waning moon. These are things you might not have been looking out for, but that it would be able to have the capability of noticing. And, with that information, obviously, then you can do with that what you need. So that's the way it's kind of upping your game as opposed to completely replacing you.
To answer Bliss, we actually just talked about accuracy a few minutes ago. I don't know if you just joined, but we can talk a little bit more about that. Like I said, we're gonna have a Q&A at the end where we're just gonna kind of let it fly with you guys. So yeah, I did see. Let's see, where was that comment? Oh yeah, there's no guarantee a benchmark will be implemented. Well, my comment on that is there will be a benchmark implemented. There's just no guarantee that it'll be ISAR that does it. A benchmark is fundamental in this field. There's literally a benchmark in every subgenre where AI is being made. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, in my opinion.
If not by ISAR, then maybe by a joint effort of astrological organizations. I think anything like that probably should be more of a community-based process. We
Right.
reached out to ISAR because they're the obviously the most global, but we have plenty of other organizations in many countries that have the same interest in promoting accuracy and integrity in AI models that are dealing with astrology. So I think that I don't want to like put too much of the heat on ISAR or something. Like, we've asked them to do something which is pretty huge and really requires probably more global sort of coordinated kind of effort on the part of organizations to develop this kind of benchmark, and that may take time, and we don't want to hold ourselves back for this, but we are being completely transparent about how we're doing this and trying to convey that we're doing this like ethically. And while I guess you could take our word for it, but I mean, we will, we're saying right now, like, not only have we requested this, but we will be taking whatever tests we can to
Right. We'll
prove
follow
that we
And
the
to be
guidelines
to
laid
to
out.
show that we're really being transparent, let's also add that another reason we went with ESAR is that Patrick is actually sleeping with the president of CAP-ESAR, their education board. So
I am the president of
that's right. So
CAPSA, the
okay.
certification board. Yeah, that is a bit of a
I was just
conflict
trying to
of
make it sound saucier. That's all.
interest. That's
Not a lie.
I just wanted to. Yes, technically, I sleep with myself. But oh my god.
Well, that took a turn.
Yeah. Anyway, yes,
So,
it's true. I'm the president of the certification branch of ISAR, and so this has presented a bit of an ethical quandary for me, because obviously,
which is why you recused yourself.
but I recused myself from all sort of
Yes.
official discussion of it, and so I'm not in a position to influence the board of ISAR one way or the other. Ultimately, even if I wasn't a part of an AI project myself, I would still want this benchmark to develop, because I think that we should have certain requirements that an AI should reach. I mean, heck, I kind of think all astrologers should reach some kind of benchmark to prove that they know what they know. But that's even more important, for an astrological AI.
All right. So the other, I guess, question that we were going to discuss from the survey real quick is what would make you more comfortable or excited about, Nechepso and what we're doing. So I'm going to go over the very rudimentary pie chart that I have here, and we will just glance over that real quick. I'm not trying to, fixate on it. Okay. So what would make you more comfortable or excited? Demos and information came in at the top of this, as you can see. I want to add that, Patrick, you did add an FAQ to the site.
I have not added that just yet.
Well, it will be up.
We will have
today.
an FAQ.
Yeah. So on top of that, as I said, as far as demos and information, one of the reasons why we did this today was to be as transparent as we can about the feedback that we've received. And not only that, but to show you guys that we're, you're not filling out the survey for no reason or anything. We're seriously looking at all this stuff. We're considering it, and it's weighing in on how we operate moving ahead. And then demos as well. Like I said, there's certain things we don't kind of want to spoil yet, because we want to be able to show them in that sort of atmosphere, demo it, and in the future to kind of get you guys excited for what we're doing. Trust and credibility. I think we've talked a lot on that stuff so far. And I do think that Nick and Patrick, I know you guys don't know me, but Nick and Patrick are very credible people in this field. They've been around for a very long time. So that should alleviate, credibility issues, I believe, to some extent. And we plan on working with more people in the future as well, which we've alluded to today. Privacy and security. We've talked a whole lot about that. This is an emphasis for us. This is something we are prioritizing. Accuracy and reliability. Something else we've kind of, beat the drum to today. We have a lot of things we are implementing for, to make this as accurate and reliable as possible. Accessibility and ease of use. We discussed that. We're meeting to make this accessible to, people with certain disabilities. And we want it to be really just easy to use, have a really nice user interface that just kind of has a nice flow to it. There's no confusion when you open it up, scratching your head and wondering, what do you do? Unique, innovative features. We got a lot of those. Financial considerations. We're going to discuss that here in a minute. Community involvement and feedback, 5%. Ethical development and application. We just talked about the ethical development. To get back on the community involvement, that's what we're doing today. And then, so that's kind of the overview of how you guys answered this. So let me just get off of here and we can kind of discuss the points a bit more directly. As I said, as time progresses, we want to show off the different features of how the software looks. And we plan on providing thorough documentation, and we plan on doing like videos to show you how to use the software. But the main thing, we have an emphasis on the ease of use. So you should be able to pick it up fairly easily. I feel like right now, a lot of softwares, they just kind of, jam a bunch of buttons up on the top left corner, and you just kind of got to figure it out from there. So that is absolutely not the approach we are taking. No worries. We're making it very aesthetically pleasing while also putting it together in a way that just the navigation and everything is just going to be, flow very smoothly. As far as the community, well, like I said, that's what we're doing here today. We do consider the community one of our strengths. We're not taking any sort of money from venture capitalist organizations. We're not being funded by people who are looking to exploit astrology for money. We're doing all of this on our own completely.
Yeah, we're going out on a limb, actually.
And anyone who is involved or will be involved is someone that, will have the utmost credibility within the community. And how the community feels about a lot of the stuff we're doing is really important to us because we do, a lot of our motivations behind this is heavily centric on bettering the community, right? So all of your feedback and everything that you guys give to us in the surveys or through emails or just any interactions, it's very, very important to us. And I don't think I can stress that enough.
Yeah, we're not like trust fund kids, just trying to blow a bunch of money and, just
although if anyone wants to give us a trust fund, we're willing to try.
But I mean, we're going at some personal financial risk in pursuing this. I'm not saying this for like a sob story or something, but I mean just hard realities. Like, yeah, we're doing this with a fair amount of there's it's tight right now. We can't wait to get this out there and for sale.
We're living on ramen, people.
Yeah, the coffers are definitely dwindling.
You have Saturn in the 8th right now, so.
Well, I guess I can announce that I will be taking a limited schedule of clients starting June 1st. I didn't know exactly when I would be back for clients, but I officially have to come back for clients on a limited basis starting June 1st.
I, on the other hand, am taking a sabbatical from clients starting June 6th. because I have to focus on working on this. So
On your musical
that's going to
chairs.
be tight. Yeah, Patrick took some time off to focus 100% on Nechepso, but he's got to make some money. Now I'm going to take some time off to focus 100% on Nechepso. I no doubt eventually will need money, but that's how we're going to do it because we really want to get this. We do want to get the software out this year, and
It's
and
gonna
yeah,
touch on that. Yeah, it's the software will be like that is something that somebody said. Like, are you sure you're going to be able to get all this stuff done? It's a lot of stuff. And
Yes.
all I'll say to that is, you don't know me. I will make it happen. I promise you. I promise you.
Hell or high water.
Come hell or high water, I will make it happen. That's kind of been my motto through all this, and so far, every single as unrealistic as it seemed, I've been able to hit every single goal that we've set forth over the last 4 or 5 months. So
he really has. He's
better
quite
believe
the
it is
worker.
coming.
He's
I mean,
relentless.
you might have wondered, like, why did Patrick and Nick, like, why did they go with this like random unknown person? And it's because it's because
we picked him up in a bar.
it's because John is pretty extraordinary. Like, I think if you talk to him enough, you can see his very obvious intellect and passion and enthusiasm for astrology, and he's you may not know about him, obviously, because he's not a professional practicing astrologer, but I have a lot of confidence in John in the time that I've known him, several years now, and so he has my sort of stamp of approval, I guess you could say.
Thank you.
And you're very welcome, John. No, I do mean that.
And John really did come with a very fully realized vision. I mean, that was the other thing. That was, not only was he clearly capable of doing everything that he laid out to do, but it was just the extension of how much thought he had put into it before we even started talking about it. And of course, Patrick and I had our own notions. Patrick and I, before we went official with John, were spent a whole year talking about doing something like this, and occasionally conferring with other people and trying to figure our way around it. So really
I came close. Yeah, I was able to make a little script that did allow us to kind of talk to the ephemeris, but obviously this is a few
this is a few levels up from that.
To answer Kira, I'm probably the final boss of Sagittarius. I'm Sagittarius rising. I have Sagittarius, I have Sagittarius. No, I have Saturn on the ascendant in Sagittarius, Mercury on the ascendant in Sagittarius. I have Venus in Sagittarius, conjunct Uranus in Sagittarius, with my Sun also in Sagittarius. So yeah, and I'm an Aries moon, so a lot of fire, whole lot of fire.
Kira asks, can we get a Sun Moon Rising sound off for the three of you?
That's what I was talking about.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm Leo Rising, Sun in Libra, Moon in Scorpio, fallen guy.
I am Leo Sun, Leo Rising, Taurus Moon on the midheaven. Literally the anti-Chris Brennan.
In fact, literally,
all our stuff.
Like, what's crazy is, Nick, your moon's at like the exaltation degree.
That's right.
Of Taurus on the midheaven, and my moon is at the exact fallen degree on the IC. So you have like the most exalted moon on the midheaven. I have the most fallen moon on the IC. I always thought that was an interesting opposition we have.
It is an interesting opposition, and I think a testament to the fact that the moon doesn't want to be on the MC. The moon would rather be down where you have it, even if it can't be exalted.
Right. I have some opinions, but in any case, I want to make sure we get through all the things we wanted to address.
Yes, let's do that.
Let's get through the rest of this. We're right here at the end of it. Let's get through the rest, and then we can address all these questions because there's a lot that just started kind of flying in here. So yeah, let me see where we're going with this. Yeah. So as we discussed, the community we feel like is one of our strengths, and that's why we're here today. We already stated that the local deployment of the software makes sure that the data stays on the user's device, and cloud connectivity upon launch is meant for databases like your charts and stuff like that. We want the easy flow for charts between mobile and desktop, so you don't have to worry about us, as we've said over and over, try to take your data or anything like that. We don't want it. Trust me. Um, One other thing we're going to do is beta testing, and I wanted to kind of touch on this as far as people. What was the reply? Hold up. What was the answer? I don't want to say it wrong. One of the answers was, or one of the top answers, I should say. It was trust and credibility. Okay, yeah. So addressing the credibility thing again, whenever we do our beta testing, now I will say this isn't the only demographic we're going to reach out to, because that would kind of defeat the purpose of beta testing. The beta testing, we're going to want a lot of different types of people and a lot of different types of systems to test the software to make sure it's what everybody hopes and dreams it is. But one of the things we will do is reach out to a lot of people who are already in the astrology community that have a lot of the credibility that you guys are looking for, and we're going to have them test it. And if they don't like it, they can voice their opinions on it freely.
And we'll
So it's
fix it.
right.
Whatever they kind of bring up, whatever we can do about it, we'll try.
But yeah, so innovation in general is just the reason why this whole thing began. I think I literally said to Patrick, like, how come you have to make these spreadsheets, and how come I have da da da? It's because none of this stuff exists. We can't do anything. And yeah, so innovation, it was something else that was mentioned on there. That is, one of the main reasons why we're doing this. That's the main reason why anything is created. I feel like we're just sick and tired of not having something that can do all the things that we need it to do. To put it, bluntly. Financial considerations. So we can discuss this now. We alluded to another announcement on our last live stream, and we said that there was going to be an announcement the first week of June. We can confirm to you guys now that this announcement will be on June 5th, and in this announcement we will detail our pricing structure. The amounts. I do want to say that we will have several options available, and it's definitely affordable. We aren't looking to charge an arm and a leg at all. It's going to be accessible to whoever wants to use it. It's not going to be like some crazy price. And like I said, there will be multiple pricing structures. So I feel like anybody who actually wants it or wants to try it or whatever is absolutely going to be able to do that. And I wanted to just say that during this live stream to kind of, make sure you guys don't have to worry about that. Because
it won't be an arm and a leg, just a finger or a toe. Nothing more than that.
It will be worth the investment. At whatever level you decide to access this product, we think that it will be a worthy investment. In some cases you may even make your money back on it, depending on how much you can get it to work for you in some respects.
Oh yeah.
And so
I think a lot of people will get it to pay for itself.
I think yeah, so that's what I can say about that. But yeah, June 5th we'll announce the sort of exact amounts and the different options that will be available, and that's
so
what.
Yeah. Being that we do consider the community one of our strengths, as we said, we intend to listen. Features, issues, bugs, any sort of constructive criticism that you guys have for us, it will be discussed. It will be addressed. any suggestions you guys have, it may very well end up in the software if it's a cool enough idea that we haven't thought of. So we do want to say we're always open to all of that stuff. And I hope that today is kind of displays just how important or how much value we give to your feedback, because that's quite literally why we're doing this.
And if you haven't taken the survey yet, you still can. We're still open for listening to you. So if you haven't taken it yet, feel free to go to nechepso.com and scroll down to see the survey, or just use the QR code there in the corner.
I did see somebody say in the survey, they were like, I can't scan the QR code if I'm actually watching it on my phone. So go to nechepso.com if this is you. If it's not, then yes, please scan the QR code. There's an avenue for everyone to take the survey. The last thing is just, ethical development of all of this. Once again, data is handwritten knowledge and experience. Any sources that do end up being used are either public domain, or they will have the explicit permission from authors who we choose to include. And as I also stated, it's not to just, not to use their works, not to copy and paste a section, but the thing is, we want to give people the credit that they deserve for their ideas. That's the main thing, that we're looking at with this. But yeah, there are people that we already have obtained written permission from, for certain ideas just like this. And we also plan on adding more astrologers for data sets and other things. As we also said, we need the Vedic section written. And, if you guys know people who do Chinese and all that other stuff, I mean, we would absolutely love to include it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Was that all we had to cover off just by ourselves?
There was one other thing.
Oh,
one other quick thing that I should mention. It's actually relatively funny. Someone said that Nechepso wasn't AI, which is just crazy. It's laughable.
Hold them back. Hold them back.
So hold on. I just wanted to show you guys this. It's a weird thing to try to explain because you guys probably don't really know a whole lot about this stuff. So
thank you, Nia.
Just to briefly, show what this is. Hold on. All right, so we can see this PyTorch. PyTorch is how you make AI, right? Well, that's the main library. Then there's Hugging Face.
Hugging Face.
Hugging Face is where a lot of the AI models are located. You can actually go here and find all different kinds of models to do all kinds of different things. It's fantastic. Also, if you're looking at the documentation here on Hugging Face, it tells you how to do everything. And then you'll see this little thing right here called Gradio. What is Gradio? Well, Gradio, build and share delightful machine learning apps.
Delightful.
Yeah. Well, I like to think that Nechepso's demo.
I think Nechepso's pretty delightful. Yeah.
I thought it was delightful myself.
That's not false advertising.
No. So, the reason why I wanted to show that, like, Gradio is quite literally how we did our demo. Like, saying the idea that machine learning is not AI would be like saying that a Rottweiler is not a dog. Like, it's a weird stance to take.
That is a strange thing to say.
It is,
So take that random single hater on Twitter.
It's just it's kind of strange. I'll say that much. And then just to kind of give some more reference here, I'll zoom in so you can see. So let me explain what this is. This is the leaderboard that's used for blind testing language models. All the new AI comes out, people go here, they do blind testing and they vote, and that's kind of how they determine what the best language model of the time is. You can see it's built with Gradio, right? Also, what were we built with? Gradio, same thing, right? And then just to show the PyTorch reference here, this is actually the code from the demo. You can see with Torch Nograd, that is a PyTorch reference. This is quite literally AI. So
yeah, that was
I even had to waste 2-3 minutes to do that. It's but
yeah, out of all the things,
laughable.
Out of all the things that I was concerned people might say about it, denying
not
that it
the
was
one.
AI was not one of them.
That wasn't on my
I
bingo
think
card.
they also said that it wasn't that it was all scraping. And yeah, like I literally took 2 months off from clients. I've literally been putting this information like it almost felt insulting. Like I'm like,
You've
what do you think
literally
I'm
been-
doing here? Like
You've literally been ripping pages out of an atlas, scanning them and sending them in. So, I mean, yeah, you've been doing all kinds of like real work,
I mean,
real work.
I'm not
it
sure
was
what you mean by
laughable.
that. Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
yeah. So we it's
All right.
yeah, I just didn't really
Yeah,
anticipate
it's
that person saying that.
the web scraping thing. It's just even the idea that you could have something that like the average response time from the model in the demo was like 10 seconds of reply. If you think that I can make something that can scrape the web for answers and give back a cohesive answer like that in under 10 seconds, then I should probably be doing something else other than this. Like I need a job somewhere crazy, right? Like
One
it's
person
just
did think that we just had Chris Brennan typing in the answers from off screen, but no, we did not.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, let's move beyond that, please. So I guess this would bring us to the Q&A. Let's start going through these questions and answering
Yeah,
what people
let's
have to
do it.
say. Was that comment left by AI? No, it was not.
Yeah, it was not.
I did accuse her of being a bot, but I was in the minority.
Could it make astrology-based playlist? Interesting you bring that up. I'm not sure I'm going to discuss that at this current moment, but I will say there are some pretty cool things that are going to be in the personal module, and I'll leave it there.
Can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay, let's take a look at some of these questions. Oh, Jake had a question about the journal and notes feature. He said, like, if I want to log a unique observation or interpretation for a specific transit, can I add it to the database for future reference and future reminders?
Okay, so the way it would work is like this, right? A journal is just like any other journal. You go, there's a date, and you type whatever happens to you on this date. On the back end, the software checks to see what is the most relevant things happening to you astrologically at the time of said event. These, and I might start talking a little techie here, but these things are converted into embeddings, which are then put into a vector database, and then it can be referred to later on through a retrieval process. So essentially, think of it like this. Something happens today. You have the sun. Let's say the sun's opposite your moon, right? That's one of the main things that's occurring on the event. It ends up taking what you've listed as the event and the main astrological influences and grouping them together to be able to be looked at in the future. If you ask it questions, it's like I said, it's going to have a long-term memory. So it's going to be able to look back on a lot of these things, and the journal is just an extension of the memory. I hope that answers your question. What else we got? They have me chained up typing answers.
Thank you, the Astrology Podcast, whoever that is.
The secret's out, Chris.
Miguel Suarez says, can you explain how much of the Gen AI is incorporated to the other features and modules? In order for the AI to know your life, it will have to have access to all the data you input. So will you be able to access the AI feature with every other feature that will be included in Nechepso?
Yes, that's kind of what I was just discussing. So the technical application of the AI, it's going to be initially we were looking at having the AIs kind of a certain layout. With my idea on that's kind of shifted a bit. I think that the AI needs its own module to effectively do what we need it to do. But essentially, picture it like this. Let's say you open up the AI module and just picture, I don't know, any chat window in your mind, right? Imagine there's a bar across the top, and there'll be pull down windows where you can select, like, okay, I want to discuss something that I'm looking at in the workspace module. You would select workspace, and then you'd be able to talk. It would know, all right, this is what you want to discuss, right? So you'll be able to reference whatever module you want to directly with the AI. That's one of the things that it'll be able to do. And yeah, it does have memory long term. It'll remember the key things of your conversations. So it'll be able to reference those in the future as well. So I hope that answers that question. What else we got?
There were a bunch more at the beginning, so I'm gonna scroll back down and take a look at some of those. One of the first ones we got. I think we can say something about this. Jake says, I'm guessing this might be included already, but it would be cool to have a comprehensive database of the typical mythologies and archetypes of all the planetary bodies, so I don't have to look them up on Google.
The AI is being trained on mythology. That is one of the categories
right.
the AI is being trained on, along with history, along with philosophy, and many other things. Non-subjective scientific stuff like astronomy, obviously synodic cycles. We do have Nick sitting here. So yeah, that is a category the AI will be trained
on. We have a couple comments here about security as well. I'm wondering if the software should have password entry as an extra layer of security.
That's how you'll access it. It'll be password entry.
And also, we were encouraged by Renee Oshop, maybe look at HIPAA requirements as an example for guardrails for security.
Yeah, that was a really good suggestion. Thank you for that, Renee.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Another thing I can say too is, something we might end up doing in the future. There are specific models that come with built-in guardrails that you can actually train to use, and they're quite literally centered around safety and stuff like that. So that's something else we've discussed and looked at too.
Jake asks a few good questions. One of them is, can the AI point or figure out chart patterns on its own? Can it point out more prominent aspects compared to others?
That is something that we do want to train it on. And the way that we plan on doing this is through the interpretive part of the data. And essentially, it ends up looking at example charts and stuff like that and being shown how, okay, this is how you delineate this and everything. So I would like to think, yeah, absolutely. By the end of the training,
we would have to
definitely be able to do that.
We would have to tell it like that prominent means not only close in terms of the orb of the degrees of the aspects, but also that those aspects might occupy, say, angular houses, because that tends to be how we define what a prominent aspect is. Like, it's not just close, but it's like somehow elevated in the
also
chart at that moment.
Is either or both planet to making a station, because that also impacts the kind of aspect it's making. And again, like we've been saying, it's going to have heliacal rising and setting information, and that might have some impact in how a given aspect is interpreted. So we're also the answer is absolutely yes, but it'll be based on a far more nuanced criteria than your average astrologer can even contemplate using. It's kind of the best of both worlds, really.
We obviously haven't gotten to that part of the data entry yet, but we would have to actually figure out what to tell it to how to identify those kinds of prominent aspects.
By the time all the data's done and all the ideas I have on implementing the data, it should absolutely, because it's the data set is so detailed. It's extremely detailed. It's going to cover a lot of bases. I see somebody ask, is the data protected? And that's something, it's one of the main reasons why we're, doing this today. And we have talked about it a lot, but it's not going to hurt to emphasize this again. Yes, the data is protected. We will not have any access to the journal, to your conversations, to, any of that stuff at all. That's why we're setting this thing up to where it deploys locally on your system. It's not going to, touch our servers or anything like that whatsoever. So
Yeah.
that's one of the main reasons why we
It'll come down
that
to the
approach.
safety of your own device. It'll come down to the safety of your own device. If you have, but certainly, yeah, it's not information that'll be sort of anywhere but on your device.
What other questions we got?
Brian asked, how about integrating new techniques surfacing from new translations of old manuscripts?
Yeah,
i.e.
I saw that
podcast
question. Thank you. Yeah.
interview with Penelope Sitter and her translation of Morin. I mean, here's the thing. We'll obviously try to present the most complete version of the products we can at launch, but it's probably more accurate to look at it as like the first iteration. And, with more resources, we will be able to continue adding to what we have and improving it. And certainly when new things come up that, it should know, like, we'll find a way to put it in there.
Right. As issues arise, and if you guys see any issues, as soon as you report anything, you better believe I'm running right to the data set and clicking like crazy, getting this thing, fixed and whatever else. We're hoping none of that stuff really even happens. That's why we're being so detailed and so thorough with what we're doing already. But
Ariana says on YouTube, can we have a Mighty Networks group to workshop this stuff, please? I don't know what a Mighty Network is.
A mighty network. It was a mighty network.
A Mighty Network group.
Like ABC? I don't know.
I'm not sure exactly what that is, but the idea is that they would want to workshop it. I think, we're going to do beta testing.
Yeah, if we can find out what a mighty research group is, then we might say yes to this.
I feel like just Nechepso and the user is a mighty research group in itself.
Have we thought about doing a Kickstarter or something? Well, no, we haven't really thought about that, because we just figure that the work had to be done, when it was done, and it has to be done now. Like, we can't really wait for funding to be reached before working on it. We just have to kind of get going, and so that's kind of we figure the community support will come when we have a product to actually sell, as opposed to promising something and then and asking for a financial commitment at that point. I feel like it's only fair to actually have something to give right then and there in exchange for what anyone wants to give to support the product, for their own use. Let's see. You'll send a care package. Thank you, Hercuma Blue. Plug your Patreon. Yeah, please give to the Astrology Livestream Patreon. That helps benefit me and Nick. I also have my own personal astrology Patreon, but I don't. I'm not often able to update it with blogs, and I'm only taking payments on the basis of my output, not per month. So, because I just feel like it would be kind of sad if someone wanted to support me month to month, but then I may have a month where I'm not able to get a blog out, especially right now where the main thing I need is time. So, but the Astrology Livestream one goes to benefit both me and Nick, and it's month to month. Yeah, you can find that by searching the Astrology Livestream on Patreon. Let's see.
We got some explanation about this mighty network thing. Apparently Austin uses it and Astrology Hub uses it. So okay, we'll look into it.
Sure.
If this is something
it's something like a private forum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, gee, a private forum. We'll definitely think about the idea of having.
We'll think about
a private
that. Yeah.
Forum.
We might need to put a lot of consideration.
We're gonna have a big conversation about that.
Fiamma says, can the AI have language emphasis in the delineations? For example, Mercury conjunct Jupiter by transit isn't as relevant as that, and being a Virgo rising in a Mercury ruled year, or as the above plus in the 10th house with eclipses and Pluto. Language emphasis in the delineations. I think certainly we would want to include information about like for who a given delineation might be more relevant. Certainly if you take into
That's
account
going to be covered in our advanced delineation part of the training data. That's quite literally the type of stuff that's like literally what all of the advanced delineation entries are going to look like very detailed things just like that. And, we will train it on a ton of examples like that.
Jake asks, are you planning a super cool electional release for Nechepso? We will obviously try to do the best we can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we kind
so
of we're running low on good electionals.
Yeah, I was going to say that's how you
month.
guys should know that it's absolutely going to come out sooner than later, because at the end of the year, there's not really very many good elections.
So we do want it to come out really soon.
Yeah, it's gonna come, at least on a decent election for sure, without a doubt. I think we've done pretty good on the election so far this year, though, with everything.
Yeah, no, I think we did really, really well. Like we said before, we launched the entire company, Thema Mundi Technologies, on January 18th with Mid Taurus Rising. So we ended up being able to pick up, I think, quite a good chart.
Yeah, June 5th is very nice, and
June 5th was also quite nice. And
you guys, there's no way you're going to be able to guess what that announcement is either. So,
or I'm still looking. Okay, all right, this might be a good one to address. Does it have image generating capabilities? I often try this in Midjourney, and only 9 out of 10 times it only gives me people staring at a horizon or crossroads. Would love something better.
So I will say this: the original version of Nechepso is not multimodal. This is on my checklist. It actually might end up becoming multimodal sooner than later, depending on how some of the the technology over the main technology unfolds, I should say. But multimodality is something that we absolutely are going to add at some point, 100%. We've already discussed, once we get it to image that level, having data sets ready where it would be able to look at a chart, image of a chart, the same way that people do, and delineate just the image of the chart. So that is something that we do plan on doing in the future, but it won't be a part of the initial version, which, like we said, this is just 1.0, the first iteration. But multimodality is absolutely something we intend to add in the future.
We do have a few very sort of far out science fiction like items on the wish list that we're ready to access should the technology go in that direction. So
right.
We do have our science fiction wish list, and you never know where things are going to go and what's suddenly going to become possible.
Some more big AI ideas that are coming. Like I said, we have a lot of things we haven't announced that we will just kind of gradually announce over time. Multimodality is on that list.
So Miguel says, how much of the astrology that AI will be trained on be biased towards traditional versus modern? If we want to combine methods and techniques, how will the AI know which knowledge base to use?
Oh, Miguel, we have an answer for you. We have an answer for you.
Once again, imagine, same thing. You have a bar across the top of the chat where you can specify, hey, this is the module that I want to discuss. There will also be something there where you discuss exactly the discipline you want the AI to use. If you want it to be modern, you would select modern. If you want it to be traditional, you'd select traditional. If you want it to be Vedic, when we have that written, you would select Vedic. There's also a synthetic selection option where it does blend a modern and traditional interpretation together. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So obviously I'm currently working on those models right now on entering all the information for the synthetic models. And I think what's interesting is in the process of doing that, I've realized how many ways in which some of the ways in which there are some interesting overlaps between modern concepts and traditional concepts that can kind of enhance the interpretation. But in some cases, some of the concepts are irreconcilable. And so I've had to note as well where like this modern perspective says this, but this traditional perspective says this. And,
Right.
so in my writing of these, like, thousands of cells of information, I've kind of had to make those distinctions pretty clear, and then also point to the ways in which they sometimes can sort of overlap or somehow compatible. So you're getting a very Patrick Watson take in some ways on that
Certain
blend,
things, yeah.
but I've tried my best to also be impartial and to not put too much of my own thoughts. I really try to keep it to like just the facts. You basically just have to trust that we know what we're doing when we're doing this. But I have made a really big effort to make the synthetic data sets able to distinguish between and able to recognize convergences between, broadly speaking, modern and traditional techniques and ideas and concepts.
Yeah, and we're also
ahead.
going to have things like these will be features of the synthetic model and features of the non-subjective model, where there will be the chance for for Nechepso to actually deduce or innovate astrological factors that we may not have occurred to us or occurred to anyone who bothered to write it down. So we're allowing for some room for the avenue to come the other way and to use Nechepso really to explore astrology, not merely to teach it astrology, but to see what it can teach us about astrology.
Yeah. What else we got?
Giosen says, isn't taking techniques from recent translation the same as scraping data? Wouldn't you need to translate it yourself first? Well, we can certainly gather, permission from authors, translators, for areas where we've like explicitly used something from traditional astrology. But you also have to take into account that, like, some of this stuff that we've have read and been using now for years, and have now been able to sort of validate, I guess, through experience. Are we scraping data if we're using our own knowledge of things too? I mean, that's, I guess, sort of a gray area, I suppose. But what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, eventually, again, like there's the Nechepso we're releasing this year, and then there's the Nechepso that's going to continue to evolve over time. And I imagine one thing, I mean, this again goes to the science fiction column for the time being. But when it comes to astrological texts, I mean, Babylonian texts, it's something like only 10% of them have even been translated. And I wouldn't be the first person to suggest that AI might be, a handy tool in speeding up that whole process. So as new translations emerge, you never know. I mean, eventually we might have a Nechepso that literally reads cuneiform tablets and straight from the source, and it reads them directly. You never know how these things are
create our own translations, I guess.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things we discussed in the beginning, was actually having an AI model that could do things with translations to speed up that process a bit. Because there's even different AI models, there's mask filling models, and essentially what that is, imagine there's incomplete text, right, that can't entirely be translated because there's things that were left out. There's quite literally AI that is created that fills in those blanks with the highest percentage, semantic answer of what it should say, stuff like that. I mean, you'd have to obviously, specify, hey, the AI thinks it's this, right? But I mean, there's a lot of cool things that you might be able to do. One thing I would say about the author thing, while we're on that, like, this is something that I want to say we just discussed for a little bit yesterday, was just the possibility of, maybe even in the future, we would license some of these translations that you're referring to, some of the modern translations from the authors, and make them directly accessible in the software. Something like that, where you could say, hey, what did Firmicus Maternus say about whatever, and it would be able to search the document that way also. So we're still considering a lot of those things.
That's true. Someone had said in the
And-
survey, how do you validate, like, will there be a way to validate what the AI tells you? And so that was kind of our idea to potentially address that.
And I want to say, someone said, will you cite the people who trained the AI? So just to make it clear, the people who we got permission from to cite, it's not that we're actually using their, like I said, we're not actually taking any of their text or anything. Essentially, think of it like this, where let's say somebody's known for a technique, or this person has a fantastic explanation of the technique that I can't explain any better than this. If you ask Nechepso about said technique, it would say, according to the person we got permission from. And the reason why we did it like that is so, like we said, those people deserve the credit for those ideas. And there's no, conscionable way that I feel like I could have, even included some of the stuff without having that in place. Because, people deserve the credit for, those things. But there's no sort of, like I said, just a direct reference to text from anybody. It's more so just, saying, hey, this is the person who thought of this, or hey, this is the person who explained it this way, if that makes sense.
That's a good answer. For real says, can it highlight the relevant transits for the native, the perfection year? Will it have a PDF export option to print any data you'd like out? I think that's pretty easy to put in.
Real quickly though, Kira, I don't think any of us are going to Norwalk, are we?
No.
I'm not. Yeah.
No, I'm well, I can't. Kind of busy, fresh out of cash. So
Right.
not
So-
really.
I'm
Run the
on
question
the
back.
other side of the planet. I'm as far away from Seattle as you can be on planet Earth right now. So I won't be there.
Run the question back, Patrick. What was it?
The question was, can it highlight the relevant transits for the native, the perfection year? Will it have a PDF export option to print any data you'd like out? I think that'd be fairly straightforward too.
That would be pretty easy to do. And definitely, I mean, when it comes to transits and the perfection year, yes, it's going to know all that. It's going to tell you stuff about that.
That's actually
never
part of the
realized
snapshot in the personal module. We have something that's in the personal module, and this would be if you're talking about yourself, where the personal module has this thing called snapshot that basically shows you these are your perfections right now. This is your zodiacal releasing periods. It'll have all of that stuff. Your most relevant, like it's basically like a cell that contains all that information in a nice little aesthetically pleasing way.
Jake asks, can you make the chart layout bigger or have some sort of house focus feature where planets or bodies at concurrent degrees or close in orb can display without squishing the symbols too close together?
Yeah, I don't see why that's an issue.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that is something that comes up in things like solar fire.
I was going to say
it could probably
the
be
way-
done better than it is.
the way that it currently is set up, which I don't know if this is what will end up, making it out in the final version, but the way that I have the workspace set up right now is that the chart size actually adjusts dynamically with your window size. So if you make your window size bigger, the chart size adjusts. It moves. The size of the chart is dynamic to whatever your screen resolution is. So if you want it to be bigger, make your screen bigger.
I think he means though also, if you have a chart with like a really heavy duty stellium, sometimes it sort
Like
of
me.
like you, it gets warped in the pie chart sort of layout. So yeah, it would be great to have a layout that never does that.
Maybe like dynamic resizing of the glyphs or something to accommodate.
Well,
that would be what you need. Yeah.
If I can make it, make my chart look, halfway decent, then I think it should work for most other stelliums too. So I'll keep that in mind. I see.
Actually, it's like everyone on our team has some kind of heavy duty stellium in their chart, so we're quite a stellium heavy group.
I see at the top there, is there a limit on how many people it can do that kind of personal analysis for? Actually, another thing that is going to be included in the personal module is sort of like a family sort of thing where you can, it does the personal analysis on your family and friends if you enter their charts. Same way. So
I think it would be an interesting, like think about it. You could, if you're doing sports astrology, you enter in like, you know, all the data of both teams, like the whole roster, or, you know,
oh, yeah, that'd be good for the
you
research module for sure.
for research modules and yeah, you know, your favorite band, how's their, you know, for the four members of your favorite band, what's their synastry like? All the starring actors in a given movie that you like, you know, look at that synastry. A lot of different things that we could use that yeah, definitely Nechepso will be able to do, to look at larger groups and do some kind of analysis. That's definitely something we want it to be able to do.
B Havens asks, weird idea, but eventually, not now, but eventually, maybe some old school square charts, different chart styles, sky or square, etc., seem to offer different views.
No, I think right now. I think right now.
Yeah,
maybe
right
not
now.
right now. No, right now. Yeah, we're gonna have.
Yeah, we
that'll
have
be an
different.
option.
Yeah, an option to see the chart different ways and maybe even do it
also
3D.
we're considering some stuff that's never been done before on the way that you can view a chart. That's really cool. So
We
Yeah.
really
more to
want
come.
to. We really want to use AI to explore the vertical dimension of astrology, like latitude and declination, and you just can't do that with a 2D interface. But I mean, we can totally create a 3D representation to sort of show that vertical dimension. So, you know, why not do that? Miguel says, I think that comparison is unfair. I'm not sure what that was in response
He
to.
was talking about the modern interpretations. Is that like scraping data?
Oh, right.
Right.
So okay. For real says, will people who sign up now be grandfathered into any updates?
So I'll tell you this as far as that's concerned, and you know what? I'm surprised we didn't even bring this up during the other stuff. People are, and rightfully so, because there are other softwares that charge you money for updates and stuff. Just go ahead and put this out there now. If you get Nechepso, you will not be charged for any updates. Every single update will come just like if you update any other software. We're not going to charge anybody to update. We're not going to charge anybody, for any of that stuff. If we update the AI, you'll get the update as part of your, being a customer. If the software updates, any of that stuff, it comes with the software. We're not charging for updates or any of that stuff. No matter what type of subscription you have, or no matter how you end up with the software, all of that stuff will come as part of the software. The updates forever. There's no worries about that.
We do have a lot of ideas about how we're going to do with this, with a pricing plan, whatever. Like we said, we're going to be talking about that in a few weeks' time on June 5th.
Herkimer had a good question earlier on saying, is the software all inclusive, or will the modules be add-ons so you buy what ones you need?
No, you get the whole
stands,
shebang.
Yeah, everything right now that we're working on modules, there's no like premium modules. You get it all. That's where we're at with it.
And you may wonder, like, well, why would we do that? You could technically make more money if you like segmented it out or something. But I think the thing that we are most concerned with is making it useful for the long term. It sort of
accessibility.
Yeah, it's more sort of important to us that like astrologers have this kind of tool at their disposal, than that we extract every last drop of profit possible from making it. Because there's a certain point at which, when you release a product, we kind of saw this like with streaming, right? Where like streaming at first had no ads and it was great, and we were in this golden age of streaming, and then the only way they could perfected streaming to the point where the only way they could extract more money from it was to make it harder to use and make it worse to use. And now you can't do password sharing with your family, and now you have all these sort of limits on it. And I feel like I would much prefer long-term sustainability over infinite growth of profits. I think
Absolutely.
I just, because it's like it's for what astrologers sort of need. We need something like this to kind of persist in the long term. So that's kind of what's more important to me. I'd much rather make a little less money and stay in business for a much longer period of time than extract every last drop, and eventually have people sort of disgruntled or unhappy with it. I'd like it to be, yeah. So that's kind of why I think we're doing that.
What else we got?
Miguel says, do you employ machine learning algorithms to data not used in the Gen AI feature? Will there be features that employ ML algorithms? Is that even useful for astrological or astronomical data?
It's something that I'm looking at especially for the research
Right.
part of the module, because they can be extremely helpful. But even outside of the generative AI, I do have to use an embedding model. That's what makes the memory and everything possible. So there is a lot of moving pieces, but even still, the memory thing does end up tying into the generative AI. But yeah, as far as just regular algorithms and things like that, it's absolutely something that we're looking at to see just how useful it can be, especially pertaining to the research module.
He follows up that question by saying, my question is in the context of financial astrology. I want to employ machine learning algorithms on astrological astronomical data for the purpose of algorithmic trading.
Well, yeah. Then
I mean, something we could look at.
Yeah,
that's kind of your wheelhouse too.
I was going to say I have a lot of that's basically my entire programming background is in financial tools. So
award-winning.
We have another team member also who that's quite literally what his programming background is as well. So the financial module should be stacked. I'll put it to you like that.
Yeah, it could be quite robust.
Yeah.
You might say. Yeah, we'd love it if people start becoming billionaires because they're using Nechepso.
What was your idea, Nick?
Oh yeah. What I want to do is hand out Nechepso to people stuck in refugee camps and things like that, and see how long it takes them to use it to better their lives in some dramatic way. Yeah,
I can't tell if you say that in jest or not, because otherwise it's like in terrible taste or something. No,
terrible taste. Yeah. Better the lives of people who have no other hope.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna assume good intentions there. Miguel also says they use TradingView a lot. So yeah, that's his wheelhouse. For real says, will there be mundane analysis and predictions? I mean, we may have to be careful about what we allow it to predict, but I mean, there may be ways you could do research in the program that would be able to get you the answers without, like, there might be some things that like the Nechepso AI won't be able to like just give you the answer for, but you may have the tools within the research module perhaps to do some of your own research and answer your own questions that way.
I think that's where we can kind of tap into Nick's brain a little bit, how he analyzes stuff by,
right.
Certain events happen, like certain transits, looking at the history of the past transits and everything, how they played out, stuff like that. That'd absolutely be something fantastic to have in the research module.
Yeah. No question. Like we said at the very beginning, we're making this so we can use it. So that's definitely right in there.
Ariana asks about remediation. Will it offer remediation? We don't currently have that as part of our data sets necessarily.
It's possible if and when we intend to engage one or more Vedic astrologers to write a Vedic data set, and that might by default include some remediation type material. But it's not the kind of thing that Patrick or I do.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's something to consider. But
I suppose maybe in the social skills, there might be ways we can help the AI deliver that news about more challenging aspects, especially to do that in a sort of a kind and humane way. And maybe by offering kind of, if not like full on remediation, then at least sort of like more common sense types of suggestions that
Right.
are harmless,
I
but maybe
do.
work with the trends.
See, Renee even confirms the ancient text, the ancient texts of Vedic astrology is based on do have all their remediations built into the work. So we would definitely be able to incorporate it for that.
Yeah.
All right.
Jake has a personal module idea: celebrities, artists, etc., that share similar chart placements to the native, possibly topical to birthdays, news, etc. It might be cool if you could, like, using the auto mundane feature. It'd be kind of cool if you wanted to keep tabs on a certain figure in the news.
Topic.
Yeah, like, or a certain topic, maybe like specify that so that, like, you know, if you're like studying a current celebrity or something, yeah, that's in the news a lot, maybe you get like updates that are immediately loaded into like the chart file you can build for them or something like that. That
I
might
guess
be
that
fun.
is an example of using machine learning outside of the generative AI.
Yeah, that's
which
true.
I
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
slipped my mind is the auto mundane chart generation feature. So yeah, there's one of those.
Yeah, you know, For Real says that would be loads of fun. Yes, add fun features too. Honestly, that would be kind of nice too. Is like all of this stuff obviously like nourishes the astro nerd in us, but it would be also very just, we could just make this very fun. You know, I think that's especially, there's a lot of room for more fun things, I think, is in the personal module.
Geosen says, "Can I set it up so that it never uses the words transformation, growth, and energy?" Geosen, absolutely.
You know
I've got a
what?
list. I've got a list of words like that. Those 3 words are on it. There's some other words as well that just should not
You can
be
actually
used.
set it up to do something like that if you really wanted
Yeah,
to.
we could.
You can actually do that.
You could
Yeah,
just say Nechepso, never mention these words.
yeah.
Yeah,
Unless if we're doing literally doing the charts of, like, you know, Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison, and the word energy is relevant to the topic, then yes, we don't use it. There we go. No cliche, no cliche zone.
I love Jake has given us a lot of questions and ideas here today. He says, "Hey, Nechepso, track all boats running into bridges."
yeah.
That's not
the
a
Libra
bad.
eclipse.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. You could
It would
really
listen.
hyper
You never know. Maybe
focus.
someday Nechepso is saving lives. You never know. You never
I
know.
mean, really, I feel like that would sort of be the ultimately endpoint. You know, if it was able to predict big disasters and stuff, that, you know, maybe they
And
could,
save lives.
maybe
Yeah.
they could be mitigated if there was some prior awareness that there's a heightened potential or something.
To
At
address
least,
what For
yeah.
Real just said about the interface, yeah. So once again, one of our biggest points of emphasis in development is making something that just doesn't suck in how it looks. Like, we want it to look really good. So aesthetics is a big emphasis for us, and I think you guys are going to be impressed. Like, I don't know, on the Nechepso Twitter account, actually, you know, there's a video that's up there, just, you know, some stuff that we've been able to throw together playing around here. But I mean, I feel like even that by itself probably looks better than any graphics that's been done for any software ever.
You know, we're also talking with some designers as well, you know, to help us make sure that this looks super, super good.
Thank you, Kira.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kira.
A Bear says easier visual ZR mode. So this is something that, like, I've wished for a long time, that I think we can
I have
finally
an
do.
entire spreadsheet that I made for this, if you remember.
I'm talking more about the display. It would be, I would think it would be much more intuitive to use like kind of a nested tree type of display where you can close up or open up chapters as needed. Also, to be able to save events associated with certain dates, so that regardless of the lot you're looking at, you can like have the
Well, it
relevant
should save
events to
that
show
in the
up.
journal. If you put
Sure.
in like an event in the journal, then it would save I'm gonna program it to where it's like, okay, what's your transits? Okay, is there anything in progression? Okay, what's the
Right.
zodiacal thing? Okay, what's the perfection? It's gonna have a checklist of things it needs to look at, take note of all the periods and the most relative things, and then save them into its memory for reference in the future.
Right. I would, another thing that I think would be really helpful as well is for it to kind of know how certain periods are related, because we know that there are like certain L3, L4 signatures that can be important for like later L1, L2 signatures. So to sort of note that those are related across those different time frames. I mean, it's something that, once you know about it, you can kind of spot it just with your own eyes. But for the program to actually like know and understand that would be really helpful for being able to create those comparisons, across different time
Daily
periods, and to
quests,
sort of see
like
the
Duolingo.
connections, the thematic kind of similarities between different time periods. Jake Atero asks, have you guys thought about any gamification features?
Like daily quests or tasks for learning, like something like Duolingo is what I was thinking whenever you said that. But
we haven't really discussed it. No.
Yeah, you're playing GTA, and Nechepso tells you when the right time to shoot that lady with the shopping cart.
I don't think we've discussed it for this.
No,
but we might have discussed it for something else. I don't know.
Other things.
Will you input some of the ancient charts found in old texts like Valens and Lily, etc.? I mean, I guess
I mean, if we secure,
there'll be databases of different sort of topics available. I mean, those charts are pretty widely available.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't know. Like, I guess I wasn't aware that people might want that in there. Maybe if that's a good way.
Oh, I'm sure the Valens charts for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just you have a file in the database and you have it in there. Not a problem.
One thing I will say though, which the Lily thing made me think of, how he has a whole system for accidental dignities, aside from just what everybody uses for essential dignities. That is something that I've thought about incorporating as a customizable sort of accidental dignity scoring to go alongside with essential dignity scoring, because I haven't seen that on anything yet either.
All right, so Jake says not so much Grand Theft Auto, but perhaps basic skills practice or study for the standard astrology student, like some kind of game that is like a testing game to test your skill for astrology. Yeah, it's an interesting.
I mean, you could probably get Nechepso to just do that. You could probably just say, give me give me a random shot, and I'm going to try to guess, what they do for a career or something like that.
Yeah, the architecture it's built on is pretty advanced. So
yeah, GeoSun says gaming sounds innocent, but there's a danger that where people could use it for gambling. Nechepso being used for gambling. Well, I mean, we're already talking about using it for trading view and things like that, and that's kind of just advanced gambling.
I actually disagree heavily with that statement.
Yeah, careful, Nick.
I think that
kind of
life is a gamble. I imagine Nechepso might be useful to people who want to put their finger on the scale, so to speak. And
find out what works. Find out what works. Like, you can use this to experiment with. I mean, there may be. I mean, that's another one of the things we're really interested in finding out with the software is like what can AI tell us about how astrology sort of actually functions in the real world. Like, not just how well can it conform to the body of knowledge we're putting in, but like, how can it make connections and patterns that we just haven't been aware of. And so I think things like the research module and the financial module will be really useful for kind of separating the wheat from the chaff in some ways.
And who knows, maybe you really can like enter the entire roster for 2 hockey teams or 2 football teams into like two sets and do this often enough, and Nechepso actually figures out just from 2 sets of birthdays who's more likely to win a game. You never know, and maybe it does really well on that, and we literally destroy professional sports with our app. Who knows where it could go.
I'm interested in sports analysis myself. So,
then that's going to be a great module then to play with.
I think that'd be really useful.
Herkima asks, question, will it have visualizations like Archetypal Explorer for transit info? We had talked about a potential visualizer module.
That would be a later version, but it is something that's on our wish list.
There are all kinds of visualizations I'd love to be able to make.
Well, I think it just depends on the visualization you're talking about. So I will say this. So there is going to be like a visual kind of module, and the visual module would have like things such as astro maps, like for astrocartography, but it's not going to be just that. It is going to have a lot of other visual elements, which we discussed. We're still kind of working out the fine details on that, so I don't want to say something right now in case it might not be there whenever we do go to launch, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of things that we have discussed.
I mean, really cool. Just to, like I love the Archetypal Explorer. I love the way the visuals look. I love it. There are a few things I would love to change or improve about that service. So, there may be some variation on a similar idea that we may be able to use in Nechepso, but we'll take another look at that. For Real says, you guys should make sure we tick a box or something saying no liability back on you, so no one can blame you for anything based on how they use the AI. I mean, we will obviously do our best to have really strong guardrails to ensure that it's used ethically and that it doesn't do something crazy, but I think
if you use it to gamble and you win money, we deserve a cut. That's
I mean, we would probably have to have some sort of disclaimer
we want a taste
that we would want probably some terms of use, I guess.
That's absolutely going to be in there. You have to put that stuff in there. So trust me, it'll be there. In the terms.
Oh, my computer battery is going to die here. I'm going to have to unplug my camera.
Not financial advice.
This is not financial advice.
Proceeds to give something that looks and sounds a lot like it. Oh, where did Nick go?
I'm here. I had to change my camera.
Oh, okay. River of Wind says, while on this live stream, I received very good money news based on the goodwill of my partners. May it be an auspice for Nechepso. Good Jupiter for you 3 too. Clinks of glasses emojis. That's cool. Congratulations.
I'll drink to that.
Me too. I mean, I think we actually went through all of the questions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun comments.
But
I think
that's pretty much all the questions, I think.
I wonder if anybody, I'd be curious to see what some people might guess we're going to reveal on the 5th.
All right.
John,
what do you think? All right. Comment. What do you think we're going to announce on June 5th? I'm just curious.
What do you think?
If you're such good astrologers, why don't you predict what we're going to do?
That's like walking up to a stand-up comedian and go like, "Be funny, make me laugh." Yeah.
Make me laugh.
How many
funny
packs
man.
of cigarettes do you smoke a day
Oh,
based on your astrology?
Oh God. Don't get me started.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, nope. Got us there. The pricing is one thing we will talk about, but
Yeah,
there's
that's
a
true.
much larger announcement.
Yes, we've
Yeah.
already said that.
Nechepso opens for Coldplay in a new Music of the Spheres tour.
Almost, Jake. No, actually, Coldplay opens for Nechepso.
Yeah. Yeah, Nechepso will have some musical
Coldplay tunes
abilities.
our instruments and then walks off.
Well, in any case, it sounds like we might be at the end of our time here. So we'll just remind you to please take our AI survey if you haven't already. Obviously, you've already taken it. Please don't do it again, because otherwise it will distort our numbers. But
I might need to look at the charts.
yeah, so yeah, please fill that out. We're still monitoring the responses to that. We still want to hear what you have to say, but we have listened to you, and overall it seems like there's just been incredibly positive, more positive than we expected, response to what we're doing here. We're appreciative of your enthusiasm, and we hope that you'll stick with us through to whenever we finally do launch, so that you can join the Nechepso revolution.
That's the way to put it. I like that.
You know, we're doing everything we can to get this done, and at great personal costs and sacrifices. So
I'm quite literally coding from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep every day. So, like I said, it's gonna get done, guaranteed.
And
the website is nechepso.com.
Yeah, the website is
Nechepso.com.
Yeah, nechepso.com. Once you get to the front page, just scroll down. If it's too long, it just keeps scrolling down. The survey is on there, and you can find it that way. All right. Well,
all right, folks. Thank you so much, John, Patrick, my esteemed colleagues. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for tuning in. And we will see you June 5th, which is however many weeks from now, 2.5, something like that.
who knows? If there's some reason we need to be back to talk, who knows?
Okay.
But the next scheduled one will be June 5th. Yeah,
19 days from now.
Yes, unless someone writes something mean on Twitter and we have to come back and spend 3 hours talking about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, unless we need a rebuttal. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Cool beans. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have yourselves a
See you guys.
fantastic
Thank
day
you.
or evening, and we are